look at what you're going into. Rainy season versus daily showers, humidity levels, heat extremes, like Sophia was saying, Italy in the summer, even just like wind that can affect like the coast if you're going somewhere on the coast or if you're traveling by ferry or something like that. Example, like, checking the weather.
Yes, when I went to New Zealand, like, I love it. I tease my husband's mother. She's the best. She was telling us it's summer, it's summer. Don't she? And she knows me, so she's like, don't overpack. I was like, well, we'll see, And we were going to Queenstown, which again is colder. It's in the mountains, and so I was like, well, I got to pack at least a few winter things, even though it's summer because it's the mountains. And so I packed like a little winter suitcase and then like a big summer suitcase, like a winter carry on it, and it was like 40 degrees. And it was windy and it was cloudy. And I would tell her, and then it continued. Like there was maybe one day that it was in the 70s. And even when we went up and then up again, it was cold. And so I was teasing her. I was like, summer here is interesting, isn't it? And she's like, well, I should have checked the weather. So again, guys, not just checking like, oh, what's it going to be like next week? Check the average weather, for New Zealand in December 25th to January 5th or whatever. Sometimes it ends up being cold. You need to bring a coat. And again, layers are great. We've talked about, how to pack for that. You don't necessarily have to overpack. Just bring some layers. So if it gets chilly, you can throw them on. Pro move would just be searching also, is this destination worth visiting in this month? Because again, like we talked about Colorado, okay? Colorado's great year round. It just depends on what you want to do. In the summer, like Natalie said, it's a lot of the towns are dead, but hiking is so big there in the summer. But if you're not a hiker, don't go in the summer. If you're a skier, go in the winter. If you're not a skier, go in the summer. I mean, it's just, give or take. You'll get real traveler options, not just climate charts too. So that's great. Now, quick pro tip for you guys would be not just before your trip, but during your trip, monitor the weather, especially if you've got flights that could be affected, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. For example, I was in Colorado visiting my brother in January, and we had that big ice snowstorm come like up through the Northeast, and it hit like the top of Georgia and ended up not being as bad as it was supposed to be. But Delta was canceling thousands of flights through Atlanta, and I was connecting from Denver to Atlanta back to Pensacola. And so I was like, I just don't want to like go to the airport Sunday, have my flight be canceled, me try to reschedule with the thousands of people that are trying to reschedule their flights. So I can't get on a flight Monday. I can't get on a flight Tuesday. So I said, I'm just going to move. They were doing free changes. So I just moved my flight to any flight on Monday. And then later that day, I read another thing that said through the 26th, it'll be affected. So I was like, oh, that's Monday. I was like, well, through what time on the Monday? Because my flight's on Monday. So then I just I got sketched out again, and I went back, and it was still free to move. So I moved to Tuesday, and I was like, all right, I got to get home Tuesday. So I'm really hoping and praying that I get home Tuesday. But if I don't, it is what it is. But at least I did all that I could to make sure. And then it was totally fine. Like I got home Tuesday. I wasn't with the group of people on Sunday that had their flights canceled that had to get back to a hotel or call their family members to come pick them back up from the airport, unpack, repack. I hate that kind of stuff. And again, sometimes if it happens, but to kind of prevent it, just do those little easy things. I think it took me 60 seconds to change my flight on Delta's website. It was so easy. I didn't have to call. I didn't have to wait on the line. So, things like that. And Natalie, you're one for crowds, girl, and events.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you are going to a place because of a festival or because of an event. But I think if you want to avoid those things, then that's another thing to look up is like, yeah, I mean, obviously we talk about popular times of year to go. That's going to tell you right there that there are going to be crowds. But often you don't know, like, are there holidays? Especially in Europe, there are so many different holidays that they take off that you might not realize. And so it's important to look up different events, festivals, holidays, even like we talked about with cruise ships, like what are the seasons for cruise ships and when should you go based on weather or when should you go based on when it's just like a lot of people aren't going, which for me is during the school year. Like cruises during the summer are more popular, but the better times of year are actually earlier in the year, like March.